Hey everybody, welcome to the H.E.A.T podcast. I'm Karyn Bryant.
What's up, guys? Alan Jouban here.
So we are coming to you for podcast number 101. Alan has a very busy schedule, so today we had to Skype, but got a lot to talk about still.
I'm a busy man, Karyn.
You are. Guy, I don't want to tip the hat too much, but Alan has plans, and we're actually going to get into it a little bit later in the show here, how you, I wouldn't say you called out RDA, but there's been some conversation online about that.
I called him out, Karyn.
Okay. Okay. I was like, how should I put this? So we'll talk about that. We also want to talk about Conor McGregor's clips that videos. It's really this whole ad campaign that he is doing for the Pegasus World Cup Invitational. It's a horse race. I actually interviewed the director, Frank Coraci. We'll talk about that a little. Talk about Ronda Rousey some. Also, I do want to get your thoughts on the Woodley rematch, and we know BJ Penn is coming up this weekend and stuff too. But Alan, quickly before we start, people were kind of going crazy about what Meryl Streep said at the Golden Globes, how martial arts aren't art. You're the artist. You're the athlete here. Do you think it's art, and were you offended by what she said?
I was. I mean, I don't take it very seriously. I mean, there's people that were really getting up in arms about it, that were posting all kinds of stuff on the internet. I mean, you can't take it that seriously. But it did offend me because I'm a fan of hers. Yeah. I'm not a huge movie guy, but like when I think about Meryl Streep, I think about one of the best actresses of all time. And for her to have a statement like that, to kind of look down upon what I do for a living, it makes you lose your sense of how big of a fan I was of her, or her judgment. So it's sad to hear it, but you know what? Like, she's a great woman, she's a great actress, but at the same time, she's probably been living in a bubble for 30 years. Who knows what she knows? She's exposed to the Hollywood glamour limelight, and so she knows only what she knows inside that bubble. So I can't get too mad at her.
Yeah, I agree with you. I am a Meryl Streep fan. I think she's fantastic, and there was a lot of what she was saying in the speech about inclusion and trying to bring people together, which I was really feeling. But then when she said that, I was like, well, but I love football and music. I was like, those are my favorite things to watch on the weekend. Like, that sucks. Yeah. You just ripped on that. And I do think it's art. It's not for everybody, but I do think it's art. And people were saying, oh, look, Vince Vaughn and Mel Gibson looked really pissed. And a friend of mine had posted something about that. And somebody said, yeah, Vince Vaughn was mad. And they said, oh, it's because he's a Republican. And I actually commented, I said, no, it's because he does jiu-jitsu. And he really is an MMA fan. And he knows that it is an art form, while it may not be for everybody. It also might be that he's Republican. I don't know. But I was like, oh, that sucks, because I like her.
And the other interesting thing is that she feels that so strongly about that. But 23 of the new owners of the UFC are celebrity actors and actresses as well, so are athletes and stuff. Right. So it's kind of an interesting statement.
Yeah, it is. Well, we already started to take up a little bit of round one, which is okay. Speaking of Hollywood, Ronda Rousey has done some acting in the past, but I want to get your reaction to something that she posted. She hasn't really come out and said too much after the defeat to the champ Amanda Nunes, but she put an Instagram post up the other day saying, basically, to paraphrase, then she hit rock bottom. That's where she would rebuild from. So what did you think of that statement? And were you hoping for more from the former champion, more than just, a meme?
I'm undecided right now, Karyn. I mean, and as far as her statement, in my mind, it's kind of like, what else is she supposed to say? Yeah. If she goes into depression, it looks awful. She is at rock bottom, so to speak. The only thing you try to do is try to be positive and say, it's funny that she said that quote. I didn't hear her say it. You sent me that email with that. And just last night, I was watching one of my favorite reality shows called Gold Rush.
The Bachelor? No. I was watching The Bachelor. I can't help it. It's trash, and I can't help it.
I watch a lot of bad shows, Housewives, all these horrible shows. But they're mindless. I like to be mindless TV sometimes. But Gold Rush is another one that I like. And same thing, man. The guy kept striking out, putting a lot of big money down on excavating big properties. Right. And then they kept losing money. And he said the same thing the other night. He said, you know what? When you hit rock bottom, at least you have a stable base to build from. But you know what happens next? I think the guy hits rock bottom even further in the show. So let's hope that doesn't happen again to Ronda. Moving forward, though, it's like she has an option. She could either try to fight again and have that beautiful comeback story, but also risk getting injured again or getting knocked out again, or take the easier path and just go into Hollywood or go transition on to something else. So that's a big obstacle she has to overcome, or a big decision she has to make, rather. Is she going to take that chance again and try fighting? It's a risky one.
Yeah, it's tough because it's easier said than done. Just transitioning to Hollywood, obviously she's done some of it, but it's easier said than done. There was somebody that was saying something like, "Oh, the WWE wouldn't even want her because she's broken," which I don't know if I necessarily agree with. She may just need to take some time, but I personally. And I said this, I was doing Jay and Dan's show the other day. I want her to not go into hiding for another year. After the Holly loss, I understand why she took some time, but I feel as if she came out and embraced it a little bit sooner and didn't hide from the world and said, yeah, this really, really awful thing happened to me professionally. At the end of the day, nobody died. There's way worse things in the world. But if she said, yeah, professionally, this is pretty much probably the worst thing that could happen to her, and just owned it, because I do still think there's goodwill toward her, and I feel like it would behoove her to not stay away for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you said it. Like, it already seems different this time around. She's not only gained experience, but this defeat wasn't as devastating. The other one was, that was her first time losing, and she got knocked out. This one, she got beat up, but she was still on her feet, somewhat out on her feet. But at the end of the fight, she's experienced it already. It's another low, but I think it'll be a lot shorter term that she's going to be low. But I think it's just kind of like who she's going to be around. When she's taking this time off to herself, if she's around her Hollywood friends, they're probably going to say, Ronda, you've achieved so much in the sport. Get away from that. You've achieved so much, make movies. If she's around people that are fighters, friends, or whatever, they're probably going to say, have one more stab at it. So it's a tough decision. But she made, what, $3 million just for show, and then maybe some more off the back end, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
So I'm just going to throw out a number. She made $5 or $6 million or something. She's good for a little bit. She could afford to go into hiding, but take some time off and be fine with it,
Yeah, I agree. I do hope that we, that it's just not too long. But also the thing about this one, too, is that it wasn't as much of a surprise because everybody knew how good Amanda was. I feel like the Holly situation was different because we didn't expect it as much. Here we are in round 2, though, another fight I want to move on to. It was announced that Tyron Woodley and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson are going to have a rematch. This time it's going to be at UFC 209. I'll be working the desk for that one. I'm excited. That's going to be a little bit cray-cray. T-Wood's been saying all this stuff like, be careful what you wish for and all this stuff. Stephen tweeted out that he had already signed the contract and he was waiting for the champ. To me, of course Stephen's going to sign it first. So to me, that wasn't so much of a diss to say I'm waiting on you. Like Tyron, the ball is in his court. But I'm happy about the rematch as much as I wanted Demian Maia to get a chance. If that last fight had ended decisively, I'm cool with this rematch happening as opposed to Tyron fighting Bisping or somebody else. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it needs to happen. It was a close fight. I still stand by my word that being there live at the fight, I had Tyron winning.
Yeah.
Close fight, but I had him winning. I was shocked when it came to a draw. But it needs to happen. It was a fight of the night. It was an exciting fight. It was a close fight. Why not let it happen again? With that said, I know I've been calling a couple people out lately. I've been having, I got the bug. But man, is not making any friends lately either.
Yeah.
This man is challenging Michael Bisping, who he works with. He's the Tyron Woodley. The same day that he announced this fight, he was asking, what's his name, if he was available.
He asked Demian. He tweeted out saying, hey, everybody wants me to fight the guy who deserves it. What do you do on March 4th?
Right. So, Tyron's on one as well, man. I mean, other than those guys, he was trying to get the Conor fight. He was trying to get the big-name Diaz fight or something like that. He's in that position where he knows he's in the in the driver's seat. That's why he signed the contract second, you know. But he just wants the bigger opportunities. He wants to fight. That's why he's kind of testing the waters, I feel like. Testing the waters, seeing what bites on it. But this is the fight that rightfully should happen in my eyes.
Yeah. I would have liked to see Tyron fight George St-Pierre if George was coming back. And, you know, there's the whole talk that if, with the absence of Ronda, we need bigger stars, and so maybe it's an advantageous time for George to renegotiate that return. That fight I would like to see. If I'm being completely honest, Tyron is a friend of mine. I would love for my friend to get paid, but I'm not as interested personally in Tyron versus Conor. Just personally, I was like, I could kind of maybe imagine how that would go. The Michael thing, I think, was originally kind of a joke, and then I think it maybe got serious. I don't really know what happened there, but again, for me, maybe just for personally, because I like them both so much, I didn't want to see that happen either. So I'm cool with the Steven fight. I thought it was a very close fight, but I agree with you too. I didn't see Tyron losing that fight. Certainly, I was okay with the draw, but I certainly didn't see Tyron losing that initial fight. So I'm curious how it will be different this time. He came so close to choking Steven out. He really, you know, Steven was pretty banged up after the fight. Tyron not as much. I don't know how different it will be. I mean, are you expecting a totally different thing, or are you expecting round 6 of the same kind of fight?
I'm a little bit round 6, but to me the determining factor is going to be, okay, so who gains more knowledge in the first fight? You know, and in my eyes, you would have to think that Tyron gained more knowledge, because it's harder to bring in a replica of Wonder Boy. You know, there's not a lot of Stephen Thompsons in every gym. The guy that switches stances, has his karate background.
He's so good. Yeah.
So good. So has his not odd, but you don't see the traditional and very, very effective karate background anymore, and stylistically anymore. So you would think for Tyron experiencing that for the first time, going 5 rounds, that he obtained a lot more knowledge than Steven did, because, and not a diss against Tyron, but there's a Tyron in every gym. There's a big, strong wrestler.
He has a more traditional skill set.
Absolutely. He just happens to be one of the best in the world at it. So I would think from a mental and from a kind of like getting in reps, that Tyron gained more from getting in these 5 rounds of reps against an unorthodox guy like Stephen Thompson. With that said, though, Stephen Thompson could have learned a lot more than we realized, you know, just with timing and distance and everything. Because usually I felt like Stephen was a little bit drawn back. He was a little bit gun-shy in that fight with Tyron. Maybe he was a little bit weary of the powder, or he was weary of the takedown. But in that fight, I remember watching, he had him against the cage a lot of times. Stephen had Tyron against the cage, and he didn't pull the trigger like he did in a lot of other fights. So I think maybe he can make that correction. And if he makes the correction and decides to go a little bit more when he has Tyron backed up, he could finish Tyron. So it's kind of a juggling match of who obtained more knowledge. We'll see what happens in the rematch.
One thing that Steven did gain, though, is the knowledge that he could get pushed that far. And that, he, you know, not only can he go 5 championship rounds, he was incredibly close to getting choked out and hung in there. So I think that was, you know, people love to make fun of Steven as such a sort of aw shucks guy. And I think that showed the world that this dude's got, like, he's a baller. You know what I mean? I feel like, if anything, he maybe taught himself something about his own, the depth of his own heart. But I also feel like it was a great thing for the world to see that somebody who many people accuse of just being a goody two-shoes is a legit badass, you know. So I'm excited. I don't know. I'm excited. I think it's the right thing. I
do too. And you know, to touch a little bit more on, we were speaking about Tyron. Possibly wanting these super fights. We talked about, you know, neither of us are really interested so much in him and versus Conor, and now he's kind of testing the waters with Bisping. I kind of feel like, and I say this statement without doing too much research on it, but from what I've gathered, like, okay, so there's a union that's formed, and all these unions are starting to form, and I feel like in the very, very near future there will be one of these unions. Everybody's going to come together and form one. To me, the most realistic one is the MMA FA. A lot of fighters, that's the one Randy Couture and all of them are. A lot of fighters involved in this one, that's pretty much pushing like the Ali Act, pushing the Ali. And so I did a little research the other day, kind of reading up on the Ali Act, and the Ali Act, one of the things that it does is it doesn't allow it makes a committee say who's the next in line, who's the next contender. And what they do is they pick the number one contender, and the number one contender is the person who fights for the belt. So they do it, a very traditional and proper way. And what I'm assuming is what might happen is if the Ali Act comes into effect, some of these exciting super fights, like getting a Nick Diaz after not fighting for a year or two and putting them up against Conor McGregor for the belt or something like that, some of these fights may not happen anymore. These super fights, as Tyron Woodley wants to fight up a weight class, down a weight class. So I think, like I said, I'm not sure in all the details, but if that is the case, if the Ali Act does go into effect, which will be a good thing for our sport, it might take away some of these super fight draws where these guys are trying to make the big bucks. So some of the guys might be knowledgeable of this already, Tyron Woodley's, Conor McGregor, so they might be trying to just get
it while they can.
Get it while you can, because once this goes into effect, it's going to be a more traditional ranking system.
Interesting. Well, as we are here in the middle of round 3, we may as well stay in the welterweight division, because you, sir, like I said, I was trying to say that you were just putting it out there in the ether, but you legit said you want former champ Rafael dos Anjos, who says he is moving up to welterweight. He says, cutting to 55 has been too hard on him. He's a big guy, too many sacrifices, and he's, going to be reinventing himself at 170. And you said you were more than happy to welcome him to the party. So how did this come about? Like, did you know he was thinking about that move, or did you see him, tweet something and you jump right on it? How'd it come about?
This was very methodical.
I like it.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. It's you guys. And I'm not talking to you. I'm not talking to the fans. I'm talking to Karyn and Wade.
Yes.
These are always pushing me to call somebody out, and they're always planting little seeds in my head. And I mean, it is actually partly that, but also, you know what? I've been in the UFC for almost 3 years now, and in my eyes, this is like a job, man. Any job that you go to, you want to know that there's room for growth. There's room to evolve, make more money, get a higher title or a higher position. And I'm kind of at that crossroads now where I've been in the UFC for 2.5 years or so, 8 or 9 fights. I've fought the middle of the road guys. I feel like I'm well above that now. Obviously, everybody knows the story. I want to be in the rankings. I'm not in the rankings. I checked that out. I'm ranked 29th right now, 29th. The guy that I just beat, who has only 3 fights in the UFC, is ranked 31. So the ranking system is garbage. It doesn't work unless you're in the top 10 or 15. Then it gets a little bit more trusted. But after that, it's just garbage. And so I don't want to waste my time fighting middle-of-the-road guys, tough up-and-comers that are not moving me up. My last 2 fights were undefeated fighters, and I didn't move up a notch. So with that said, I'm looking for ranked fighters, and I'm looking for big names. That's it. So Rafael dos Anjos, I was already looking at number 15, 14, pretty much 15 through 10, which are the Matt Browns, the Jake Ellenberg, Tarek Safardines, the former champion, Johnny Hendricks. Got that. And then those fights interested me. But when Rafael dos Anjos announced that he'd be moving to welterweight, it kind of dawned on me, like, you know what? Like, the thing about him is he's not like a washed-up guy. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, but he was just the dominant champion of beating Animal not very long ago. He was the same guy that was going to fight the biggest fight in UFC history against Conor McGregor until he got injured not long ago. He's still ranked number 4 in the world in the lightweight division, and he's a huge lightweight, not height-wise, but stockiness.
He's very big,
like 190. He's probably bigger than me when he's in the off-season. So knowing that if he's coming to the welterweight, he's a big name, he's a big draw, he's a respected fighter. And not only that, but to me, the first fight in the division, the first fight in the welterweight division would be kind of like the bigger draw. Because I remember when Benson Henderson went up to welterweight, it was a main event. He fought Brandon Thatch in Denver, and it became a main event. When Cowboy Cerrone came up to welterweight, it was a big deal. So same thing in my eyes. I'm just looking for an opportunity that I could take. I'm tired of fighting tough guys without big names. This is a tough guy with a very big name. Everybody would want to see how he fared at the welterweight division. So I jumped on the opportunity right away, man. We called the UFC. My manager even called his manager, Ali, I think it is. And said, look, let's just put this together, man. Let's make it easy. We'll both call the UFC. We'll say, look, we both want this fight. Let's make it happen. I'm not sure if his management team followed up on it, but we certainly did. So the ball's in his court, man. I'm just waiting for them to okay it, and then I'll sign the contract.
Ooh, I like it. Well, folks, too, should get behind you on Twitter and support that. I think it's a great idea. I think you more than have earned it. And, you know, by proving yourself on, you know, the Big Fox show was the last one you did. You went out there and you got a great win. Yeah, I mean, you're due. You know, we got your back here. But I think it's a great fight. I think the fans would love that. I think it'd be a fun fight, too. I think...
I've gotten amazing feedback from the fans. Everybody really loves this matchup. I feel like it's a good fight for both of us. You know, does he want to go and try to test the waters in a top 10, or does he want a guy like me who's knocking on the door of the top 10, who I'm game to fight? I don't know. You know, I guess it's up to him. But speaking with his management team, they said they didn't even have a plan. Like, they weren't thinking, I want a top fight right away, or I want a certain guy. They said they were just open to fighting in a new weight division. So look, here's a fight.
Very nice. Well, that's a perfect transition, too. We are in round 4 now. Speaking of moving weight classes, BJ Penn will be back in action Sunday against Yair Rodríguez. As we know, this is a fight now at 145. BJ, who is a Hall of Famer, who did retire, is back and is trying to reinvent himself at this weight. Now, I hope he makes the weight. 145, you know, we know is tough for some guys, especially when they get a little bit older. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on him, not only just returning out of retirement, but trying to do this at a new weight. He says he wants to make a run for the belt. Obviously, we know he's the first. Our Randy Couture were two class champs. He was welterweight and lightweight champ. Do you like this idea?
I have to see him fight, Karyn.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel so left in the dark with this fight, because it seems I can't. When was the last time BJ Penn fought? Do you remember?
So BJ, I was there when he fought Frankie Edgar. He had those Frankie Edgar fights, and I believe the third Frankie Edgar fight at the Tough finale was when he officially retired, if I'm not mistaken. Because afterwards, it was that's one of the toughest press conference, and the one when George St-Pierre was talking about his inner demons and needed to go away. Those were some of the most heart-wrenching things to be present at, because BJ, obviously such a pioneer, such a well-loved figure. It was hard to see him that sad, that torn up about it. And, let's be honest, the last few fights of his have not gone well. He's fought Nick Diaz, he's fought Rory McDonald, he's fought Frankie Edgar, he's fought tough guys. And maybe his motivation was called into question. So it's hard to separate, your love for BJ Penn versus the practical, what have we seen from him? We know he's working with Jason Perillo, who's a fantastic boxing coach. He works with Michael Bisping, who knocked out Luke Rockhold. I want to believe. Do you know what I mean? I really want to believe, but I agree with you. It's like we got to see what happens when he shows up on Sunday.
I'm pretty much in the same boat. I want to believe. I just haven't seen enough. I haven't seen how he's looking in the gym. I haven't heard really much insight from his teammates saying, like he's looking sharp in sparring. He's more motivated than I've ever seen. His weight is on point. I haven't heard any of that stuff. I'm not saying it's not happening, but I haven't heard it. It's not out in the media. I don't feel like the UFC is really promoting this fight too much. Are we going to see the young lion who's ever evolving? He's always evolving. Yair Rodríguez come and just put on the younger man display against the older BJ Penn, or we're going to see the more experienced BJ Penn come in there and have something for a year that he's never seen yet. So it's intriguing to see the matchup. I like both guys, man. Yair, exciting fighter, and everybody has a piece of their heart for BJ Penn. So I'm gonna have to just watch this one as a fan and hope for the best.
Yeah, it is interesting because I agree with you. Yair Rodríguez is the type of person who can make an older fighter look really bad because he does have that new hybrid skill set. He's flashy, he's unpredictable, and yeah, he could make a more traditional person, look a little bit like lost running around chasing him. So But
I could see this fight kind of playing out like Yair really keeping the distance with those kicks, making BJ have to blitz his way in with the opening. BJ is very good at the blitz, though. His blitzing with punches, he's very good at that. And I feel like if Yair is probably going to control the fight for a good portion of the fight using the kicks and his youth and athleticism. I see a small window for BJ to blitz in with the punches, get a hold of him, and if he gets him to the ground, that's when we could see the high percentage that BJ sinks in that choke or puts it away, and then BJ is back. You know what I mean? So it's a small window for him to get him in that position, but if he gets him in that position, I think it's a high percentage that BJ is able to finish him with his jiu-jitsu and his dominant grappling. So, man, it's going to be exciting to see.
It is, yeah, and it's like, in all this time, it's not like BJ got worse at jiu-jitsu. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not working that show. We're taking the family for Christmas. I had gotten Wade tickets to see the Cirque du Soleil show, the Toruk, the one that's based on Avatar. So we'll be there. So depending on the time, I think it's an earlier show, so I may have to hit that one up on the DVR. My next anchoring, I'm like cranking them out in February and going down and doing the Super Bowl show and all this stuff. But yeah, so it's going to be interesting. We are here in round 5 now. I do want to talk about Conor McGregor and the... So you had to have seen this. He's promoting horse racing now, the Pegasus World Cup Invitational. There's the first, there's going to be several episodes of these kind of mini movies with Conor McGregor. He's going to be the 13th jockey out in this race. And I don't know if you've seen him. I don't know what your thoughts are. I interviewed the director, Frank Coraci. He's the same man who directed The Waterboy. He directed Here Comes the Boom. He directed The Ridiculous Six. Recently, he's worked with Adam Sandler. He did The Wedding Singer, and he directed these. Said Conor is not only just a natural actor, but could be a total superstar in Hollywood if he chose to be. But I'm curious what your take is on him promoting the horse racing and what you think of these movies.
Wait, did you say the director not only did Here Comes the Boom, but he did The Waterboy and Wedding Singer?
The Waterboy and The Wedding Singer. He did Click with Adam Sandler as well. He did Blended with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. Literally, The Waterboy is the #1 R-rated sports comedy of all time.
Oh, is it? I was going to say, those are classics,
That's what I'm saying. So Karachi knows funny. Yeah, he knows funny.
Love those movies, man.
Yeah. But I'm curious what your take is on watching Conor as an actor now.
What's that?
I'm curious what your take is on Conor as an actor. How you feel about that?
Mixed reviews right now, Karyn. I don't know if it's a thumbs up or a thumb down yet, but I think he's got potential. I think he's got the potential. Obviously, Conor, just when he does something, he does it very well. He knows how to trash talk. It's all premeditated, so he's used to kind of getting in the roles, getting in the character. I think he just needs more repetition. I saw the commercial.
Yeah.
It's funny, but I'm not sold yet on his acting. From the little bit of the interview that I saw on Instagram of you interviewing the director seemed to be very pleased by what he saw, and I think it's because the director, you probably get athletes or fighters and you ask them to do something out of their comfort zone and they don't really let their guard down. But Conor was the guy that was going for it 100%, and they really appreciated that. Yeah. As far as his actual acting technique, which I can't really speak for because I'm a much better fighter than I am an actor. But I don't think he's going to be winning any awards just yet. But I think he's got potential, man. Like you said, he does everything well. He's a student of the game and whatever he's doing, and he's a guy that's not shy at all. So he's perfect. He's perfect for acting.
Yeah, I think so. And Frank had a lot to say about him. And if people, you can find the interview not only just it's on our MMA Heat Facebook page, but I've tweeted it. I did put a little bit of a snippet on Instagram, and you can have different. You can find it there. But he gives me the whole backstory as to how Conor was with his preparation and how he got along with John Lovitz, who's in there. And it is really interesting. Because like you said, it's not a guarantee that an athlete can show up and wants to do everything and wants to kind of put that guard down and be vulnerable enough to be an actor. I have seen all of these episodes, and there's some things in it that are pretty ridiculous and very silly. And so Conor has to be able to laugh at himself in order to do some of these things, which he definitely does do. But yeah, it's not a guarantee that just because you're a big star over here, you're going to translate. But he does think Conor has a bit of a future. And we know Michael Bisping is doing really well in acting. I mean, is that something Alan Jouban's going to do? I mean, obviously we know you're comfortable in front of the camera from modeling. You've had to be comfortable in very little clothing sometimes, in very random situations sometimes. So is that something that you aspire to as well?
Absolutely. I've gotten comfortable with the modeling. I've done it long enough.
Yeah.
Easy. The acting, that's different, man. That's a different story. That takes years and years of repetition and studying.
Yeah.
And I haven't put in the reps yet. You know, I kind of see everything like with the belt system. You know, if you're a 2-year anything, if you're a 2-year dentist, then you're probably a blue belt. I want the black belt dentist working on my teeth.
Totally.
So, same thing with acting, man. You have to put in your repetitions. You have to put in your time, your experience on the job, working in acting classes. But I actually signed up for acting classes today.
Nice.
So I signed up for some acting classes here. Going to get that started, doing some of those more and more, get the repetitions in now. That way, it's a bright future for me at the end. But yeah, man,
everybody's going to want to be your partner. You know that for all the scene study. Like everybody's going to want to be your partner. Girls, dudes, everybody wants to be with you. So just let the missus know that there's going to be a high demand on Alan as a scene partner.
I hope so. I hope I'm the cool kid in acting class because they're going to be probably in a higher level of acting than I am. So
not necessarily out here. You know, you got a lot of people in LA that just got off the bus and they're going to be an actor.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I did some acting. I've been in it's funny because I've been in some films and different things, but I've almost always played a reporter or an anchor person. Yeah. But I did do some other things. I was on Malcolm and Eddie a couple times, which is a sitcom, and different things like that. And it's really fun, but it's challenging. It's not as easy as people think, certainly. But you know, Alan, you seem to be pretty dedicated to what you do. I don't think you take anything too lightly. So,
you know, the one thing I've learned with acting or anything on TV is having a good person editing can help a lot too. You know that? Good
editing, good lighting, good makeup.
Lighting, makeup, editing. Those things help out a lot. You'd be surprised.
You'd be surprised.
You know the one thing intrigued me about this horse race is when I first found out about it. I'm kind of knowledgeable in the horse race world just because my mom and my stepdad, they're real big into it.
Oh, cool.
But I'd never heard of Pegasus. So I called them. I called my mom before this and my stepdad and asked them about it. And this is the first time it's ever happened, this Pegasus thing. And it's like a $12 million.
Right.
Whoever wins gets $12 million. So all the horses, they have to put in a big fee.
Yeah, each horse has to put $1 million in to get a gate. So there's 12. Yeah, there's 12 horses. They have to put $1 million in to get a gate. That's why the campaign is that Conor is the 13th jockey. But like California Chrome's going to be racing. There's a lot of very famous, because you don't have to have a qualifying race to get into this one. So people from around the world can just put up the big money horses. So that's why it's going to be pretty badass to see all these horses competing.
It'll be interesting to see if it continues on to be an annual thing. I was just intrigued that you know, they come up with this huge race and put a lot of money up and put a lot of investment, and they picked Conor McGregor to be the poster boy of it. Yeah. It kind of just shows that our sport is evolving. You know, they take an Irish MMA fighter and put him to the face of the new horse racing show. So it's good, man. It's good. It's good for all fighters.
It is. Well, and they were saying too that the part of it was because they want to bring a younger fan base in. Because a lot of the people who do support racing are, let's be honest, older. You know, they're older people, and so they're trying to kind of add this not hipster, that's the wrong word, but bring a younger demographic in. Conor has such a draw with that younger demo, and also, you know, being the champ. Conor loves to make money. Conor loves to spend money. It was really kind of an easy fit. So
he fit the role.
Yeah. So the race is January 28th. And like I said, there'll be new episodes each week being released, but for sure people should check out the interview I did with Frank, because we have some behind the scenes footage, and really just to get the whole story on Conor is well worth it. You know, Alan, before we go, we've gone through our rounds. I just want to let the people at home know that you left your sweatshirt here the last time we did the podcast, and I'm thinking of auctioning it off. I mean, it smells like raw animal man fighter. I can't. It's like a little mix of sweat and Dylan Blue Versace. It's pretty spectacular, and I'm thinking I may want to auction it off instead of give it back to you. What are your thoughts?
It's Reebok. I don't know how high you're gonna get the price.
Wow,
but
it just got chilly in here. I might need to put it on.
If it has a little bit of funk and BO with a little bit of Dylan Blue on top of that to disguise it, to hide it, then that would definitely be my sweater. Yeah.
Yeah, very much. And I think our dog too. She's been cuddling on it. I think she loves you so much. No, she hasn't. She's made it her home. It's it's Uncle Alan's jacket. No, she does love you. But
go ahead and keep it. Go ahead.
That's so funny. That's so funny. So listen, yeah, like I said, we don't have UFC tonight, tomorrow. I know. But it's coming back next week. There are fights this weekend. I'm not on those. Like I said, I'm on I think all of them in February. And like I said, I'm doing 209. And really looking forward to that. But so you're basically just in training in case you get that call for RDA or in case somebody drops out, right? Because you definitely stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
That's it. I pretty much, in my mind, I'm looking. We told the UFC already early March is what we want. There's 2 cards in Vegas early March.
Get on 209, which would be a great welterweight showcase because it's got Tyron and Steven anyway.
We're looking for at 209, March 4th, and there's also an Ultimate Fighter finale, I believe, on March 3rd in Vegas. So either of those.
No, that one got canceled. That show got canceled. It was going to be a fight night. But that was going to be a Fight Pass fight night. It's not Ultimate Fighter, but that one got canceled. They're not doing that event on the 3rd.
Oh, okay, good to know. I don't want to fight on Fight Pass anyway.
But I was going to say that's a Fight Pass one. So you want to get on 209.
I want to get on 209.
Yeah.
You're right. So that's what we're looking for. Yeah, I just want something. I want the big show. I want pay-per-view or I want local, Vegas, whatever. Yeah. But looking at that one. Excited for that one. But that's pretty much 8 weeks out. So I started my training camp this week. Had, 3 weeks off for the holidays after my last fight. Let some little bumps and bruises heal. Opened some presents. Got fat. Now I'm getting in shape again. So, yeah, it'll be fun.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, in the meantime, where can people find you on social media?
Nothing has changed. Check me out. At Alan Jouban. Everything.
All right, folks. And if you want to start, I'll start taking some bids for this. What should we start it at? I mean, at least $500, I would think. I mean, it's Alan Jouban's.
Let me just say that after every fight, we have to give them an article of clothing, and then we sign it, and then they auction that off. So you guys could also buy clothing from fighters like that. And I think they sold my last sweater, or maybe it was they stole something for like a couple $100. So
really?
Just say, guys,
this is
we're in the money now. So
yeah. This is
don't be cheap.
Way more. Well, cool. For me, you can find me on YouTube. There's Karyn Bryant channel. You can find me on Twitter at Karyn Bryant, Instagram KB Heat, MMA Heat. We have Facebook and YouTube and Twitter, all that good stuff. Also Trocasao in Português, Trocasao MMA on Twitter and on Facebook. And like I said, we have the Frank Coraci interview. And I'll be looking to do some other stuff this week. Got to figure it out. Looking ahead on some of the fights that are coming up, but. Until then, folks, if this is the first time you're seeing this podcast, we do usually do it in person, but we got a ton of these. So people should go back and look at some of these older ones because we always have a good time.
Check it out. Check out the Champagne podcast in particular. Not only are we a little buzzed, but it's coming off of a victory, so we're all in a pretty good mood. So check those out.
For sure. Awesome. Well, Alan, thanks so much for joining us. Keep your hands up and good luck in acting class.
Absolutely. Thank you.